So this is my pan flute made out of McDonald's straws. I actually made several pan flutes that I will be showing to you, but this is the first one that I made. Um, I believe you can make this with, I think I had 5 or 6 McDonald's straws. It really wasn't that many, because when you end up cutting these longer ones, you can use kind of your garbage, I guess, to make the higher notes. Um, and it sounds like this. So you can tell it moves up the scale pretty fast, but you get a nice scale from low to high. The longer tubes are the lower notes, and the shorter tubes are the higher notes. Now, after I made this one, I went out and bought straws at Walmart because you can get a lot for really cheap. They only had bendy straws, but I made this one next, which you can see comparatively. This one goes up the scale a lot faster, the first one I made, than this one. This one has a much more gradual, slow shift up the scale, and it sounds like this. It is also 2 rows as opposed to the 1 row of this one, which gives it a bit of a higher note, makes it louder. You can play these both head on right into the straws themselves to get a louder noise like this. Or you can play them on the front like you see traditional pan flutes played, which gets you that more airy sound. Um, whatever you need to make your music with. And then I made these guys, which these guys are quite fun. It's the same thing as a normal pan flute, except it's kind of deconstructed into 3 parts. So I have this really small scale here that I can play like this. Or if I want, I can shift things around and make different types of melodies. I'm trying to remember, there was one that I found that I really liked. I think it was this one. I particularly like the shift from this really high note to this really low note. It goes up and then down and then up, and it's kind of very discordant. It reminds me of something I would hear in a horror movie or a horror video game. So I think that these are really cool. I think if you had a lot of them and perhaps some mechanism to move them around, then these would be really cool. Let's see here. The next one I made was this guy, which the bendy straws actually came in handy here because I was able to make the tube. Here, I'll show you this angle. So this is one straw, and then it's taped to a second straw, which then comes down and bends back up, so that I can get a tube that is twice the length of the longest tube on this one that I showed you. So it sounds like this. You can see it comes up the scale fairly quickly because I'm going from a note that's twice the length of this one up to pretty much the same note in less time. Like this one's shorter, there's less straws here. But you can see that this has a much lower low than this one does, so I'll play them comparatively. Compared to, so there's that. And then there's this one. This one is probably my favorite. It is actually just 4 sections of tubes that are the same length, so that I could make notes, because the problem with these ones is that the straws are so small that you can't really play just one note. You have to play like 4 or 5 at a time. So I made this one, which is 5 straw sections, so that I could play just one note at a time. And it is actually tuned to play Mary Had a Little Lamb. The high note is quite a bit off of what the note it's actually supposed to be, but these 3 are pretty close to the actual notes of Mary Had a Little Lamb. And I also wrote my own song for it, which I'll play after Mary Had a Little Lamb. But let's start with Mary Had a Little Lamb, and it goes like this. run out of breath playing these things. But then I actually made my own song as well, and because then the notes can't be wrong if it's your own song. So I went ahead and made it, and it sounds like this. It's pretty simple melody. I didn't go for anything extravagant, and I actually messed up at the end. But there's actually going to be a part 2 to this video because I also made the reed type instruments with the straws that we learned about in class, but I made them longer and varying in size and did some cool stuff with those. So there's actually going to be a second part to this, but I'll end this one here. I hope you enjoyed my instruments.